Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we take a look at the astrological energies from June 26th until July 3rd, as we have quite an interesting week ahead with a lot of strong Mercury energy, plus Saturn stationing retrograde and Neptune stationing retrograde, both in Pisces, which is going to bring a slowdown to the energy you're feeling. In fact, raise your hand if you're tired, if you are feeling exhausted or worn out. That is certainly one of the energy signatures this week, because not only do we have these planets in Pisces stationing retrograde, but we have a lot of water energy in the mix. And all of this can show up as wanting to retract, wanting more time to yourself, needing more downtime, and just needing to take a break. Like, let me get caught up with myself. Let me get caught up on everything that's going on. It could feel like life is moving too fast for you, like there's too much going on and you can't quite sync up with everything that's being presented or needs to get done. So as we close out June and move into July, there will be a requirement here for you to calibrate your energy accordingly, meaning don't force the river. Give yourself breaks. Allow yourself more time to get somewhere or to move through your to-do list, because a big part of our consciousness is in the flow of these strong water signatures. And there's also a part of us that just wants to trust that everything important will be taken care of. There's a part of us that really knows that okay, with strong energy in Cancer and Pisces right now, we're not operating from the comfort of our logical mind. We're not only in that place of let me organize everything, put it into its own compartment, follow my to-do list, and just get things done. No, this is a very strong feminine energy where we operate in a way that could seem quite open and non-linear. That would be a way to look at the energy of this week. It's a non-linear week. So give yourself a break. Let yourself off the hook, meaning if you're not able to go down that to-do list in its typical fashion, or if you find yourself scattered, you're pulled over here and then you've got to take care of this over here. That is what's happening right now. It could even be that your best laid plans don't go according to schedule, and you have something that you're looking to get done, and then you have to remain flexible. You have to remain open to the fact that, okay, this didn't fit into the time slot that I thought it would, but I know I'll still take care of it, especially if it's a priority. And my strength right now is in being adaptable. The strength of this week is knowing that the flows are going to switch up, but you can still do what you need to do, even if it looks very different than what you expected. So as we close out June, we have the Sun, Venus, and Mercury all in Cancer. Plus, as I mentioned, both Saturn and Neptune stationing retrograde in Pisces. So right there, 5 planets are in water signs, which is an invitation to trust yourself more. Really trust that you can handle and move through things as they present themselves. Sometimes with the water energy, we don't really tap into an answer until the last moment. So you could have some 11th hour breakthroughs here. You could have something that you don't know what to do with it. You don't know what to decide. You don't even know how it's going to come together. And then it does. And then it does. And that's the magic of strong water consciousness, is that the answer can just come through out of the blue, and it's intuitive and it feels correct. So really trust what you're feeling right now, especially if there's something that seems really crazy or unexpected, but you feel that strong yes energy to it. That is the universe giving you the green light and the go ahead to follow that river, follow that potential and just see where it goes. And that is a strength as well of the water consciousness, is that it's meandering and it allows things to stay open. And it's that openness that connects you to wonderful manifestations and breakthroughs. So this is where we are trusting even more that we have everything we need, that the answers will arrive, that enough time will present itself to take care of what you need to get done, and that it's okay as well to just lean back and exhale. One of the best ways to work with the water consciousness is to ride it, to allow yourself to be carried by a stronger force. So that could be something that shows up for you over this next week as we move into July, is that you're realizing, if I can just allow myself to be lovingly carried through something, it's all going to work out. It's all going to come together. And that is something that we're going to have the opportunity to trust and work with. This is especially true with both Saturn and Neptune stationing retrograde in Pisces within days of each other. So Saturn stations retrograde at 19 degrees of Pisces on June 29th at 3:05 p.m. That's Eastern Time. Then we're going to see Neptune station retrograde on July 2nd at 6:40 a.m. Eastern Time as well. So we have a slowdown here in the Pisces energy fields in your chart. And this is where you could really sense that it's necessary to honor a pause, to look at what you are holding or carrying that is actually too much. And there's an invitation to surrender. And that is something that we learn with a strong Pisces influence, especially with the outer planets. As both Saturn and Neptune bring your attention to these watery cosmic consciousness realms of Pisces, where we don't see things clearly and we are actually being guided to detach and disconnect from something for our best and highest good. There's going to be things coming up this week that you realize you're done with. They are closing out. You don't have energy for it anymore. It feels depleting or it's draining you. Maybe it feels too emotionally big, like you've just been carrying something that you realize you're letting go of and releasing. And that brings up our ability to not only surrender, but release. And look at where you are attached to something. Look at where you are energetically attached to an outcome, to a path, to a choice. Look at where you are energetically attached in a way that's actually draining you and is not giving you life. Look at it through a very simple lens. Does this give me life? Does this give me energy? Or am I holding on to something that's expiring and it is draining me? It is actually taking energy more than it's giving. It's weighing me down instead of lifting me up. And chances are it's something that has already been swimming in your awareness. And now you're understanding, I really don't need this anymore. And part of the realization could bring sadness. Absolutely. It could bring disappointment and grief. You could realize, wow, I've really been attached to this, or I've really wanted this, or I really thought this would go in this direction, or this would show up in this way. But with both Saturn and Neptune here in Pisces, bringing our attention to our unconscious dreams, to our ideals, even to illusions that we've been holding on to, you're actually better off releasing something now. Now, I've done 2 separate podcast episodes for you discussing the significance of Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees. That podcast was released on May 20th, and it's about floating in the void of completions and potentials. And then there was a second podcast for you on June 10th about the Saturn retrograde in Pisces energies and how it's bringing up some important soul growth themes at this time. This is a week where you could really have something arrive in your conscious awareness that you've been pushing away, avoiding, resisting, like you haven't wanted to see it. You haven't wanted to see it for what it is. And Pisces can operate in this dreamy manner in a way that on one hand can be good for us, where we need a break from reality. We need escapism. We need to have places we go to open up to other realms and other dimensions that feel good to us. But this is a week where something is going to arrive and give you an insight that you've already known. You've already intuitively been picking up on it, and it's already been whispering to you. And this is a week where you could realize you need to accept something for what it is, not what you want it to be. And that's part of the energy of Pisces, where we do have to understand the reality of something, not just our vision of it or our idealized version of it. And that alone is going to help you move into something that you release. Or it could even jumpstart a letting go process that you know was approaching, that you know was incoming. And I'm seeing this as a really interesting bridge, where there is a bridge here between realms that we're crossing, and we're accepting that what is closing out is divinely guided and right on time. Because I feel that the significance of both Saturn and Neptune stationing retrograde in Pisces is realizing that we're completing something that isn't meant to go forward with us. And this could be some significant life themes. These could be some big things in your world that you've been wrestling with. And now a part of you is ready for it to phase out and end, and you're reaching new levels of acceptance. And that's what I'm seeing this bridge leads us to. We're being led to new ways of accepting what is, as well as ways of consciously and powerfully working with the emotions of that closure, of those endings, of even something that has let you down, that's been, again, disappointing and even discouraging. But part of the Pisces wisdom here is being able to filter out and drain out what you don't need anymore. And so how do you feel as you're being emptied, as you're being drained out of older energy, things that you're outgrowing, things that your soul knows you don't need going forward in the new cycles? So how do you feel as energies are emptying out of you? How do you care for yourself? And that's a big deal, because not only do we have the strong Pisces influence, but we have the strong Cancer energy, which is related to your personal self-care, how you handle your own internal emotional world, how you take care of yourself. So, for example, it's where you honor what you're feeling when your energy is running low, or when you're moving through disappointment, when you're feeling something that you can't control, you can't manage it on your own, but you have to work through it. The wisdom of Cancer energy is how you honor what you need and you allow it to be a personal truth, even just for the moment. Even the fleeting experiences of life as they ebb and flow through us, you allow it to be something that you gain wisdom through. Now, that doesn't mean that this is going to be necessarily a week of everything leaving, but there is energy here around it being an emotional week, dealing with some bigger emotions, being able to self-regulate and honor what you need. There's also energy this week around privacy, around just needing time to yourself, not wanting to talk it through, not wanting to share everything on your mind or in your heart, needing time to process on your own. So keep in mind that it would be wise this week to not overschedule or overcommit, but rather to give yourself some downtime and to allow whatever is coming up for you to simply move through you and to not attach to it. And that is also part of the wisdom of Cancer season, where you know that whatever you're feeling, it's going to change. It's going to look different tomorrow, similar to the weather, where even if it's going to be a little bit stormy or cloudy, you prepare accordingly, knowing that it always moves through and the sun comes out again, the energy returns, the light gets brighter, and you start to warm up under the fresh and new powers of the sun. So yes, there is a big emotional signature over this next week, but keep in mind that it is bigger and more intense than just one day. Rather, this is you really understanding what you don't need anymore going forward, and that the closure and release is also guiding you to higher wisdom of forgiveness, unconditional love, compassion, and self-acceptance, especially for yourself first. Because it's when we're able to embody that internally first that we can also genuinely extend it to others. We have a strong Mercury over this next week, and Mercury is going to be in Cancer working with 4 outer planets before moving into Leo on July 2nd, and then opposing Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So one of the main energies here is to know that Mercury in Cancer can be inconsistent in what it wants to say and express, and to give yourself time to process before saying something, before writing the email, before sharing what's on your mind. If you're feeling high emotions or if there's a lot you're moving through. Mercury trines Saturn in Pisces at 19 degrees on June 26th. This trine on June 26th is a stabilizing force of maturity, where you take a beat to understand what you're saying and how you're saying it, as well as how it's going to land. Then on June 28th, Mercury in Cancer squares Chiron in Aries at 23 degrees, and this can be the energy of something feeling very personal, feeling very sensitive. The energy is heightened here around emotional wounding. So it's actually a better day to hold back on any big conversations or anything that's on your heart. Again, that's June 28th. Then Mercury moves to sextile Uranus in Taurus at 25 degrees on June 29th. So the very next day, that sextile to Uranus in Taurus is going to burst through with clarity, with an insight that you need, with something you didn't see before. So this can be encouraging as well as validating that if you weren't able to express or write something effectively, on June 29th, it could all come out and be even better, be even more brilliant, because you trusted the pause and you allowed yourself time to deeply process. Then we're going to have Mercury trine Neptune in Pisces on July 2nd. So that's the day that Neptune is stationing retrograde. And that means Neptune in Pisces is going to override what that Mercury in Cancer initially is feeling or sensing. And this can certainly be new downloads, new understandings of something from a bigger picture that you didn't initially see or tap into. And this Neptune in Pisces is going to deliver something important that Mercury then carries into Leo. Because Mercury enters Leo right after this trine to Neptune and then opposes Pluto retrograde in Aquarius at 1 degree. So Mercury moves into Leo July 2nd, opposes Pluto, and there is a challenge to what you want or something that is important to you, whether you want to express it or declare it, something that you are perhaps ready to make it happen or create. You're really invested. Mercury in Leo is attached to something that it wants. And with this energy on July 2nd and July 3rd, it's not going to go as you dreamed or as you thought it would. But if you allow the energy to play out and you can step back from it, it will lead you to something that is a better match or fit. So this Mercury in Cancer and in Leo has a big week. And that means that overall, stay fluid in your thoughts. Don't believe everything you think. Allow the inconsistency or the uncertainty to guide you, and allow it to be a time to practice detachment. Because when I look at these transiting aspects here that Mercury in Cancer is moving through, there can be a desire to keep things close to your chest, to be very private, and to not allow anything else to destabilize you. But this is a week instead of opening up to the flow, again, allowing a bigger energy to carry you without feeling like you have to close down and retract too much, because you could be keeping out the information or energies that are designed to help you grow. Instead of that Cancer urge to shut down and keep things out, especially something that you're uncertain about, or you don't know what is going to be said, or you don't know what is going to be brought up. This is a week to do the opposite. And that could right there not only be the growth, but the discomfort. So this is a time to dig deep and know that everything is supporting you now, and that the universe is wanting your expansion to occur emotionally and through what you perceived was safe, or what you thought you had to protect. If, for example, your energy is feeling closed down and overly self-protective right now, it's almost like the universe is going to come in and try to nudge open that closed clamshell, or open up that door a little bit so that you can receive more incoming wisdom that loves you, that supports you, and that's designed to be a benefit for you, even if that isn't your first thought. So essentially, if you're exhausted and worn out, if a part of you can't take one more thing and you're looking for less, the universe is going to ask you to just stay open. Stay open to a little more. Stay open to what you might initially perceive as something threatening or damaging, and know that that isn't the case. Chances are, whatever is knocking on your clamshell or asking you to unlock the door and open it a bit is going to gift you with what you need and is going to help you in a way that you couldn't perceive initially. Now, while the mental energies of Mercury in Cancer are moving through the daily changes as they present themselves, we have Venus in Cancer, which is your softer, internal feminine energy that understands the importance of listening to herself, of trusting what is correct for her and what feels right for her in each moment. And over this next week, Venus in Cancer will sextile Mars in Taurus on June 28th at 13 degrees. And then she's going to move ahead and trine Saturn retrograde in Pisces at 19 degrees on July 2nd. So we have Venus in these favorable aspects with both Mars and Saturn, which allows us to be in that state of understanding, this is what I need right now. This is what's best for me, and I can feel good about this. I can trust this. It's almost like this Venus feels rather solid amongst all of these watery elements, And this Venus is also asking you to understand how much you are supported in the grander scheme of things. She's looking for softer comforts. She's looking for things that help balance her emotional nature. She's also seeking out ways to honor her daily energy in private. So there could be, again, parts of yourself that want to be left alone, and it helps you to refuel. That is one of the benefits of strong Cancer energy, is that for all the ways there is a desire to connect with others, to be there in support or to accommodate what others are seeking. It really comes back to, but what do I need for myself? So something else to be aware of over this next week is to honor your boundaries. When we have a lot of water, it can be easy to allow our boundaries to be washed over or to ignore them or to push them aside. But in fact, we need them even more when we have these 5 planets in water signs. So really take a minute to check in and consider what is correct for your energy, and don't be afraid of the no's. And that is something too that you'll notice as July begins, that it could be easier to say no, to decline, or to realize that something would be better for you at a later point in time. So both Mercury and Venus in Cancer are bringing up these themes around self-care, trusting what you need in the moment, going with the flow, and allowing the universe to carry you even amongst perhaps some of the unexpected changes or inconsistencies that will be coming up as we move into July. I am going to have a podcast for you on Monday that discusses the main astrological energies of July. So we will go over some of the most influential energies of the month, including the pattern we're going to see as each planet moves into Leo. Because as Mercury enters Leo first on July 2nd, then Mercury meets up with that opposition to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. This is occurring at 1 degree, and it's happening again July 2nd and July 3rd. So here's something to be aware of, is that as we move into July, it could feel like there is an oppositional force that is challenging what you want. And that is represented by this Pluto in Aquarius, which wants you to expand out and consider the bigger picture. And this is the consciousness that Pluto in Aquarius is holding, but it becomes more personal as each planet moves into Leo, which is what you want, what you desire, where you want to take a risk or assert yourself and go for something. You could feel like there's a part of you that wants to move something ahead and you're ready for it, you're fired up. And then there's that opposition to Pluto in Aquarius, which will demolish it and take it down, which will give you a no and remove something. But then that gives you new ways of reconstructing and recreating in a more conscious form. So what I mean by that is if you get some kind of no next week, specifically the beginning of July, July 1st, July 2nd, July 3rd, something is shut down, it's not going to happen, it's taken away, it is a hard stop, then the universe is saying, but don't give up. What can you do next? Allow this to be a new starting point. If there's a dead end one direction, you still have choices and options. So return to your creative force. Return to the part of you that desires to make up something that might look wildly different than what you first expected or anticipated. But this is where there is actual harmony between the Leo and Aquarius energies because they're both very creative. So what can you see in a new light? What can you create differently? How can you make something benefit more people where it moves out of that immediate need for gratification or for something that only you want? So there could be that unconscious selfishness involved. And here Pluto is saying that's not going to work. That's not going to fly. So look at it from a different angle, consider more people, consider more needs and more ways that this could be more effective, and allow this to be an invitation into deeper creative problem solving. Because even though Pluto will destroy and take something down, then that is essentially the foundation to look at, well, what am I going to build new here? What am I going to create after this has fallen apart or been fully removed? So again, that is July 2nd and July 3rd. Also on July 2nd, we're going to see the Sun in Cancer squaring the nodes of fate at 11 degrees. Now, whenever the Sun squares these nodes of fate, it's always a midpoint between eclipses. It's where we're checking in on how we've been growing and moving forward since the last set of eclipses in March and April. And it's asking us to look at the parts of our internal self, the parts of our emotional body that we are evolving and maturing, and how we're fully owning what we want. I feel that the Sun in Cancer squaring that North Node in Aries is asking you to not be afraid of your own growth. Don't hold back what is calling to you. The Sun in Cancer wants a certain level of safety in everything that it does. It wants to feel protected. Okay, this is good. I can make this happen. I don't want to take a risk. But the North Node in Aries is asking you to take a risk moving forward, to basically move towards your own growth and what you don't know about yourself yet, but to trust it and to honor that you are safe and secure in trusting who you're becoming and what you're learning about yourself in a new way. And so for all the ways that North Node in Aries wants you to be brave and courageous and independent, the Sun in Cancer can apply the brakes and be, I don't know, this is uncertain, I'm not sure what's happening here, I don't feel 100%. So this could be a time when you're checking in on something in your emotional body that you're learning to calm down or to regulate. You're learning to work with things that get triggered or that come up for you. Maybe if it feels emotionally big, you're learning that, okay, I'm working through some deeper fears here, or understanding that my growth is a priority. And as that Sun in Cancer also squares the South Node in Libra, that means there are things you're leaving behind that are connected with other people. So that might be certain relationships, connections, friendships, but it could just be your own emotional processing or something that you've been learning through other people that's a mirror of who you are and what you need, where you look back and realize, wow, that was really out of balance, or I did a lot for that connection and nothing was reciprocal. Or there was never an equal exchange of energies, or I was more invested than they were, or they were more invested than I was. So there could be some realizations here around where you've been out of balance in what you've been sharing energetically. And now there's an opportunity here to choose yourself. So this could bring up how you have unconsciously abandoned yourself for connections. Self-abandonment, where you give up what you need for someone else, or you allow another's needs and what they're about to take over who you are and what you need as well. You could have some unexpected insights as the Sun in Cancer squares the nodes of fate around what you're no longer wanting in your life or what you're no longer going to put energy towards. So as July begins, July 2nd and 3rd are really big days. In fact, let's just call it July 1st, July 2nd, July 3rd. The energy is big here as we move into July, and that means there's things coming up for you that are right on time for you to understand about yourself. When we have big Cancer energy, we're coming into new levels of emotional awareness. We're understanding more of what we need and what we want right now that begins privately. that's internal. So you're sitting with it, you're processing it quietly, and you're allowing your own growth to occur by making these emotionally unconscious parts of you more conscious. And the way that this can happen to your own advantage is to be more detached. And part of the gifts of Cancer season is to actually step back and observe yourself. Observe your own internal emotions. Observe your reactions, your responses. Observe, when something triggers you or when something hurts and feels painful. What do you do? How do you move through it? How do you process it? This is always very subjective. It's very subjective. And it's not something that we often take a step back from to observe and understand. But that would be one of the ways to work with this week, is to say, wow, that was really important to me. Or wow, that really hurt me. Or wow, when I'm triggered, I want to be left alone. Or I want to find the nearest punching bag, or I need to talk it out, or I cry, or whatever it might be for you. This is where you become more aware of your own emotional process, and then you understand what would be other choices or other ways to work with the energy. I also feel that when we have a lot of planets and water signs, we have the opportunity to look at our own emotional body and what we allow to affect us and what doesn't affect us. And you might be realizing how much you've grown, how much you've matured. Things that used to get to you no longer bother you. This is, of course, a really big deal if you identify as an empath or a highly sensitive person, because your energy needs are quite different, and you might think that you're alone or that you're the only one who experiences energy in a certain way. In fact, if you haven't already done so, if you're a highly sensitive person, I do recommend checking out the books by Dr. Elaine Aron, who has written a few books on being highly sensitive and how that shows up in your everyday life. Meaning how you could be more drained or more depleted than other people, how you're more comfortable declining certain social events or certain gatherings. So do check out her books on Amazon. She has The Highly Sensitive Person, The Highly Sensitive Child, The Highly Sensitive Person in Love, and maybe a few others. But the energy of this week is all around sensitivity. So this might be right on time for you, and it might help you understand how you're energetically wired. It also is a great way to accept yourself, to work with your energy, and to understand why what previously felt subjective, where you thought, am I the only person doing this? Am I the only person who feels this or runs energy through themselves this way? You're going to get more of a detached, objective understanding that it's how you're energetically designed, and that can be beautifully validating. So overall, as we close out June and move into July, it is a quieter week of connecting with yourself internally, stepping back, allowing your boundaries to be strong and loving, listening to what you're feeling and to what's coming up for you, trusting that the flow of life might be inconsistent and unpredictable, but you will always know what is correct for you, what to say yes to, what to say no to, and that this is another way to beautifully love, accept, and honor your divine feminine energies, to allow yourself to trust that you're being carried, you're being held, you're being loved through these bigger waves of energy. And to know that that can often mean we need more stillness, we need more quiet, and to honor yourself in those needs as you can. Also remember that we're in the closing energies of that Capricorn full moon, and we are approaching a Cancer new moon on July 5th. It's occurring at 14 degrees of Cancer. And so it's always right on time to feel that quietness and lull before the energy of the new moon comes in quite strongly. And I'll have a video for you shortly on YouTube going through that Cancer new moon at 14 degrees on July 5th. And if you haven't done so already, you might want to check out my online course discussing more about the nodes of fate. This is where the North Node is moving through your chart for the first time in 19 years, opening up more opportunities, growth, and potentials that has your name on it. And in Aries, it's about being more independent, taking a risk on yourself, being courageous, and following what is calling to you. Then on the opposite part of your chart, we have the South Node in Libra, clearing out and cleaning up what you have outgrown in those Libra expressions. So this can be the connections you have outgrown or you're looking to do differently. The South Node in Libra can show you what you are no longer looking for or seeking in your relationships with other people. It can also show you where you're ready to improve certain communication habits, what you're looking at that's been out of balance, what you're understanding has been an unconscious relationship pattern. So those are just a few things that are highlighted as the South Node journeys through Libra in your chart. Now, this is an online course you can access at any time, but it's designed to help you make the most of this node of fate energy. And keep in mind, the nodes of fate are going to change in early 2025. And because they're only in each sign for 18 months, it's important to make the most of it. The nodes of fate are also connected to the eclipses and what the eclipses are triggering for you in terms of growth as well as release. So I'll put the link below the podcast, but this is a great way to be in connection with your own soul growth right now. It can also help explain why the universe is bringing certain things front and center to you, why the universe is wanting you to understand what is ready for you in the Aries areas of your chart, because that's where you are beautifully supported in leveling up. So you can find information below the podcast here or on my website at mollymccord.online. And I do hope this helps you get a grip on how you're ready to grow into more of your true self. As always, thank you so much for joining me for this podcast episode. I'll be back every Monday and Wednesday for a new episode. So we will voyage on and continue to work with these big energies as they show up on our paths. Wishing you a beautiful beginning to July, and I'll be discussing more of those energies on Monday's show. Take good care, and I'll see you back here soon.